Math 2, Unit 7, Worksheet 3, 1 through 21 odd. 1 through 3, find the value of each trigonomic ratio in reduced fraction form. So this one, they want the tangent of A. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So the tangent of angle A is 16 over 12. When we reduce, we get the tangent of angle A equals 4/3. Number 3. All right, the cosine of angle C. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So we'll say the cosine of C equals 32 over 40, which we can reduce. The cosine of angle C equals 8 goes into 32 4 times, and 8 goes into 40 5 times. So the cosine of C equals 4/5. All right, number 5. Find the value of each trigonomic ratio in decimal form. So we'll need a calculator here. So the sine of x. So here's your reference angle. X sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the sine of x equals 24 over 30. We'll take our calculator and we'll simply go 24 divided by 30 and we get 0.8. So the sine of x equals 0.8. All right, moving on to number 7. Find the missing side, round to the nearest tenth. All right, so we need a reference angle, and we know opposite, and we know hypotenuse. Hopefully you know now that the sine of 50, you want to use sine here, opposite over hypotenuse, is x over 16. We cross multiply, we get x equals 16 times sine of 50. Into our calculator it goes, so 16 times the sine of 50, and we get 12.256 or 12.3. So x equals 12.3, and it should be shorter than 16 because that's the hypotenuse, and it is, so that at least makes sense. Moving on to number 9. Here's our reference angle. We have the opposite side and we have the adjacent side. So that's tangent. So the tangent of 54 degrees equals the opposite over the adjacent, which is x. Okay, this is one of those where we have the variables in the denominator. So we'll use the old switcheroo and we get x equals 14 over the tangent of 54 degrees. In comes our calculator. So it is 14. I like to use my fraction button in this case. Tangent of 54. Enter. And we get 10.17 or 10.2. So x equals 10.2. Moving on to number 11. All right, here's our reference angle, and we know opposite, and we're looking for hypotenuse. So that's definitely the sine. So the sine of 64 degrees equals 13 over x. Again, this is where we have x in the denominator, so we can do the old switcheroo, and we get x equals 13 divided by the sine of 64 degrees. So we have 13 divided by sine of 64, and we get 14.46, which means we'll round to 14.5. So x equals 14.5. Okay, and x is the hypotenuse, so it should be bigger than that leg, and it is, so at least the answer is reasonable. Doesn't guarantee that it's correct, but at least it's reasonable. Okay, reference angle, we know the opposite side, or we want to find the opposite side, and we have the hypotenuse, so that's definitely sine. So the sine of 33 degrees equals the opposite over the hypotenuse. Okay, this is one where we cross multiply. We get 1 times x, or x equals 19 times the sine of 33 degrees. In comes the calculator. So 19 times sine 33. Put the parenthesis on there if you want, and you get 10.34. So x equals 10.3. This should be less than the hypotenuse. It is, so at least it's reasonable. All right, going on to number 15 on the back side. Just continue on with more of the same. So number 15, we have our reference angle, and we know the adjacent side, and we're looking for the hypotenuse. That's definitely cosine. So the cosine of 39 degrees equals 12 over x. Again, x is in our denominator, so we do the switcheroo. Switch x and cosine 39. So we get x equals 12 divided by the cosine of 39 degrees. And our calculator says 12 divided by cosine 39. Enter, and we get 15.4. So x equals 15.4. And I check, let me see, the hypotenuse should be greater than 12. It is, so that makes sense. Again, doesn't mean it's right, it just gives you, it at least makes sense. Okay, here's our reference angle. We know the opposite side, and we're looking for the adjacent side. Opposite over adjacent is tangent. So the tangent of 36 degrees should equal 13 over x. X is in our denominator, so we'll use the switcheroo. So we get x equals 13 divided by the tangent of 36 degrees. In comes the calculator. 13 divided by the tangent of 36 equals 17.89, or 17.9. So x equals 17.9. Let's see if it at least makes sense. All right, 36 over here, which means that's got to be what, 54? 54 is greater than 36, so x should be greater than 13. It is, so it at least makes sense. Okay, number 19. Here's our reference angle. We're looking for the opposite side, and we have the hypotenuse. Opposite over hypotenuse is sine. So we'll say the sine of 20 degrees equals x over 12. This is where we cross multiply. 1 times x is x. And 12 times the sine of 20 is simply 12 times sine of 20 degrees. With our calculator, we simply go 12 times sine of 20, and we get 4.1. So x equals 4.1. And again, this is a small angle. We would suspect a small side, and 4 is small compared to 12, so it's reasonable. All right, last question. Number 21. The ramp on the back of a moving van is 3 feet high. So we know we're going to have a right triangle, just like every word problem in this. Okay, so the ramp on the back of a moving van is 3 feet. So this is our ramp right here. Okay, so we know that ramp is 3 feet. Oh, no, I apologize. I didn't read the whole sentence. The ramp on the back of a moving van is 3 feet high. Okay, so the ramp is not 3 feet long, it's 3 feet high. It belongs over there, and rises at an angle of 25 degrees. Okay, so that's an angle of elevation. The angle of inclination or elevation would be right there. So there it is. How long is the ramp? So it's actually x that we're looking for here. So be careful when you read those. Read the whole question first. All right, so it looks like this is our reference angle. We have opposite and we have hypotenuse. So the sine of 25 degrees equals 3 over x. This looks like a job for the switcheroo, and we get x equals 3 divided by the sine of 25 degrees. And our calculator says that 3 divided by the sine of 25 equals 7.09 or 7.1. So x equals 7.1 feet. And that makes sense. If this is 3, you would think your hypotenuse should be about 7. That makes sense.